down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Hello, Savvy Investors. We are on episode 307. Yep, already 300. I don't know how long I've been doing it, but it seems like forever. But I'm going to grind it out each and every day, 5 days a week, no matter what time. I'm going to commit to you, savvy investors out there. Hey, you listen, you got this far. Mad love to the folks, Matt Brill, for texting me yesterday. Keep it going. All right, so I'm going to keep it going. So I'm coming up with some, it takes some time. I can do quick stuff, but it's not necessarily organized or prepared. And this is one of those episodes today, or, it takes me a long time to actually write one and be thorough with it. So I'm going to mix them all in, see if you can ever figure it out. You could probably figure it out because I probably stutter or say things twice, but that's how it is on the Savvy Radio Show. Beep, beep. My name is Stephen Van Kellenberg. I am the Savvy Landlord, doing this for a long time, since 1999. And today we're going to talk about property inspections. What to look for. What are they? Should you pay for it? Should you do it? La-di-da-di-da-di-do. Now, you need to do one. First of all, if you read my book, the very first deal I ever did was I bought it at an auction, and I looked in the window and I was like, man, you can't go wrong. I didn't ever went into the property, bought it for $14,500 and then remodeled it by myself and then sold it for $50,000. So you sound like, wow, you real estate tycoon. This is 1999, right? $14,000. You can still buy houses for $14,000. But let me tell you something. I've learned a lot the hard way on inspections. So what are the costly expenses of owning a rental property? That's a question that you have to know and you have to answer yourself. What's the biggest expenses that you're going to occur? Well, I've realized throughout the years, and I'm almost militant crazy about it, it's heat and air, HVAC. When tenants do not change their air filter, it just causes even more drama, because I've learned so much about mechanical and rental property that I don't even want to know anymore. But I've learned so much about heat and air, and one way was because I paid so much of so many repairs that could have been prevented. I know we're talking about inspections, but let me get with you here, because when you get this, if I paint this picture, you'll get a little bit more into the inspection aspect. And where I'm at, 19, 17, whatever years later, 18 later, I am all about the inspections. And I just got stung on a property, and you will not believe it, but in the month of April, I've done almost four sewer lines, and I just got wind of another one, 5 sewer lines, and we just the second of the month. And so, oh no, talk about profit. People think that you're rolling, you got all this money, you got X amount of houses. I'm telling you, it's a ebb and flow. It's a hill. It's a dip. It's in your face. 1 minute you're living large, next minute you're dipping in a sewer line. But here you need to know these two expenses. Roof is an obvious one, but HVAC. What happens is that the tenants do not change the air filter. The air filter gets restricted, or it gets dirty, and the air is restricted, and then it clogs up the A-coil. And an A-coil repair probably today on an average repair call is, I would say, $300, $250 back in the day. $350, $500. There's folks out there getting hustled on the A-coil. Oh, you need a new A-coil, and it's $100-something repair, and then they charge you ungodly amount of money to rip it out because it's difficult, and then put it back in. So that's your one. What's the costliest expense of owning a rental property and sewer line, and how do you do that? So these are based on inspections. Well, one, you should get inspections often, but before you purchase a property, you should definitely do an inspection. And I'm going to ask this question: what's the most costly expense of owning a rental property? Unexpected repairs, people. Unexpected repairs. And my favorite, bad tenants, aka deadbeat tenants. they jack it up if you have them in there. So why do you want to get an inspection? Well, man, I was very arrogant, and probably you think that I am to this day, and that's okay. But man, I used to just do inspections real quick by the house because it's such a good deal. And as I get older, I feel like I'm wasting time. So let me tell you about a house right now that I just bought. Swooped in. The appraisal came in at 125. Bing, bang. Oh, Van Kallenberg. Locked it up at 66. I figured with closing costs and a bunch of drama, I'm in it for 70. Do the ARV on it, 120. What's my percentage? Anyway, I'm super good on, repairs. What could go wrong on this deal? So it was just antiquated. Looks like a homeowner lived in there for about 30, 40 years, single guy. He kind of pimped it out a little bit in an old school 60s way. He had a kind of lavish bathroom. I'm like, he took out a room for a bathroom. Okay. Anyway, so I kind of worked with that, had a big tub and then 2 bathrooms. And I redid it, painted it, and then one of the rooms in the garage had like a gang of mold. And so I was like, look, we're going to rip this all out, every drywall in here, and we're going to seal this and fix it and find out what's cracking on this deal. Now, of course, I bought this property with a quick run in, did my numbers, what's the worst thing that can happen? And sure enough, what's the worst thing that can happen? It could happen. I'm having a massive drain issue. It's on kind of a hill, right behind the hill. There's got to be ungodly amount of rain flows in, and there is a retaining wall, but it's not working, and it's pouring into the garage, which is streeping into this room that had all that mold in there. Here we go again. And thought, I would just fixed it and moved on and didn't correct it. If I had a proper inspection, and I asked myself today while I was writing this podcast, would I have found that? No. But I don't know. But what I realized is that you, the rookie investor out there, don't be cheap. And you, the veteran out there, don't be cheap. Yeah, I know. That's real amazing, like, philosophy. Let me tell you, as I've dug into this inspections, I realized there's some folks out there that charge $150 to do an inspection. Isn't that awesome? And there's folks that do a legitimate inspection, like a real homeowner inspection for $350. That's the only inspection that I've ever heard. On my own personal residence and another residence before that, in my very first commercial property, I actually hired a third-party company, and they went in and did a full-on inspection. And with this inspection, you get gang of paper of notes and repair cost, and the world's going to end because you have an inspection. Now, there's this little murmur going through the real estate investor community here in Oklahoma City where a certain inspection company actually ruins deals in, like, I guess I wouldn't say block, but they foil deals, they go bust because this inspector goes in and finds every detail that could be wrong and then creates this massive, expensive repair cost, and that usually makes the buyer, if you're a seller, run away. And so I understand the murmur, and people are frustrated about it, and I know this inspector, and I was like, wow, blah, blah, blah. Well, I never really thought of the justification of a $350 inspection. And so I asked myself one day, what if I was buying a property outside of Oklahoma? Would I hire an inspector? Absolutely. Every time I buy a property today, I factor in landlordlocks.com. If you don't have Landlord Locks, you got one master key that runs everything, so there's no confusion on keys, and we got a whole key system. Years ago, I would spend hours messing around with keys. Now I spend 3 seconds on keys and changing locks. So I just factor that cost. Well, I'm moving towards that direction, and that's what this podcast is that folks, people, young, old, around town, big, fat, small, all races and colors, get an inspection. If you're a rookie, get the inspection. Well, I come to find out there is a smaller type of inspection. I don't know what it's called, but it's $150. They come out there and they do kind of a quick inspection. Here's the thing. Just the other day, I negotiated a deal. A house was listed for $80,000, and we got it under contract for $70,000. That sounds pretty legit. Yep. The house is worth about 112, 115, maybe 120. So, I mean, $80,000 was a decent price, but it definitely needed $10,000, $15,000 worth of repairs. So we were savvy. We went in there and hit them with the 70. We locked them up. Come to find out, we know that those sellers were motivated. They needed to move, and we got wind of that so we could put the pressure on the offer. So we get it under contract, and then it's time for the inspection. Now, I'm actually, this is not a property of mine. This is a property that I've been helping a friend of mine, and he called an inspector. So he's like, hey, I got a certain inspection day. You want to come check it out? Well, man, you're one of my friends, and you're new to the game. Absolutely. Set it up, and I'll come to the inspection. Well, I roll up on the inspection. There's a guy climbing under the house, on the house, around the house, taking photos. There's like 3 or 4 people there. I was like, what in the world is going on? And I went into the property asset, whatever you want to call it, and it was like a disaster. And I was like, look, take these type of photos, do this, do that, and go back and renegotiate. And sure enough, we renegotiated with the power of this inspection. So he paid about $200 for the inspector, I think, somewhere. He gets a discount. I don't know how he got a discount. He has multiple people, friends that he uses. I don't know. But that yielded $10,000. So when people ask me about insurance, and some people don't get insurance, I'm like, I had a $160,000 claim on an apartment building that I actually profited on, and that profit will pay for my insurance for that asset for the next 10 years. And so I'm getting old in my time. I normally would not recommend an inspection. Now I have inspection checklists. I know what I'm doing. I've done a lot of rehabs. But listen, man, I just got stung on a deal. I would definitely, if you're a rookie, do the $150 inspection. At least learn what you're doing. Ultimately, factor in the worst case scenario, like a sewer line. And this was the trifecta, I guess, or duo slappo on that deal. I just got locked up for 120, bought it for 60 something, got 70 in it, about 15 in repairs. I'm probably going to have to put in a new sewer line. And I'm probably going to have to do some kind of drainage, which is probably going to be another 3 to 5. So we're looking at another $6,000. Did I get a deal? No. Could I prevented that deal? Possibly with an inspection. But with the inspection, there's a lot of positives in it. First of all, it's in writing, and you can't deny it when you do negotiations. Here's some tips. So if you do hire a contractor or you're thinking about it, first of all, you should Google up how to hire one. But second, you should Google up home inspector checklist. That right there will quantify if that person that you just hired knows what they're doing. At least you have an edge on them. One inspector that I did hire for my residence was really cool. He had a infrared device, that could see through walls and see if there was water, moisture, or something that was warm. It was pretty gnarly. I thought about considering buying it. That was, 7 years ago, so it's probably cheaper now. You can probably buy one of those. It's on my list. But here's some tips that you should think about. Make sure your inspector gives you bids on the stuff that he brings the attention to. What do you mean? So if he points, a picture, some inspectors go out there and put a sticker on something that's wrong. It could be on an outlet switch, if a crack in a window. They'll put these little blue, green, red dots to let you know, to signify that, hey, there's something wrong. But that's great and dandy, but you may be a super duper rookie and you don't know that it costs $300 to replace a double pane window. And you need to know that, and prices do go up. And I was assuming that this inspector has access to, the trade of cost and material that changes like daily. You should look into that and make sure that when he calls attention to these certain things that you have an idea of a price. One, you have a general idea so you don't have diarrhea. Two, you could use that in your negotiations. Talked about that. Once you do have your inspection, have a separate contractor bid out the work. This is great, aka scope of work. So, if you're going to pay the $150, maximize. I mean, I'm telling you, how much does it cost? How much would you pay me to roll out to your crib and do an inspection, because I do those all the time. I've probably inspected 1,000 houses in my lifetime. But I mean, people offer to pay me. I roll out there. I don't know what to charge, but man, I'd pay $150 to have a guy come out there, and then they just did a scope of work for me. And of course, it's another set of eyes. And I preach this through all my books, that you got to have someone roll with you. This is an emotional roller coaster. Like, I'm amped up on this. I got stung on this house, and it's like a bad month to do it. But you gotta, if I had another set of eyes, I would have caught that. I did that inspection on my own. I actually did that inspection on that property when I was buying it, actually coaching someone at that time, and they were green, and I'm sitting there trying to explain to them, and now I'm burned. Make sure your inspection, okay? If it's extra, whatever it is, the $150 one, scoop it up to $250, $300. Get the sewer line checked with a video camera. If you don't have a fiber optic video camera, I have one. Text me. We'll work it out. I'll rent it to you. You can go rent one. I think it's like $200 at Home Depot. Most successful plumbers have a video snake. Ask them. But if your inspector, ask them, do you have a video snake? Are you going to inspect the sewer line? If so, how? The plumbing and electrical. When they do plumbing, they're just going to turn the water on. And when they do electrical, they're just going to turn the electricity on and turn it on and turn it off. But you might want to put like an ohm meter on some stuff. Check every outlet and make sure that it's a 20 amp or a 15 amp breaker. Are they overloaded? These are things that you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. If you don't know anything about construction, get my hiring contractor green book. I cover all terminology at the back. At least that would help you negotiate with your contractor. But, you're saving time. And then, we're real estate investors, and I got to realize this, and I threw this down here. Negotiate the price. Tell them that you're a real estate investor and your normal price of $350. Would you mind maybe doing this initial inspection at $300? Don't lead them on that you have 1,000 houses that you can do inspection. But hey, you can build a relationship with that guy. The worst thing that he could say is no. Here's another one. Be physically present at the inspection. Yep. I know if you're trying to buy property in another state, another city, it may be difficult. I definitely recommend going there, visiting there, but be on boots on the ground or have a trusted colleague there while that's going. That's worth it in itself. Just to see, one thing is that you could learn. That's the goal. You got to have the mindset of learning. And you learn so much by watching and by doing. So if you roll with this dude, and the guy that did my crib 7 years ago, he had that gun, he had an iPad, he had all the questions. I was like, man, I need to start an inspection company. But you got to have to be an engineer. There's a bunch of drama to it, right? But it was worth just rolling with the guy. And then here you go. This is pretty obviously, that was the main one. Be physically present, okay? But when you're there, take as many notes as possible. Have your own inspection sheet that you found on Google with you and ask as many questions as possible. That's it. That's your tips. Now, here's the one thing that I effing forget to do is take pictures. Like, you've got to be like religious about it. Jim Rohn says, document everything. I agree. Document everything. I mean, I just the other day I did an inspection, and I'm talking to the seller, and I'm like just taking pictures of the crap, because that's what I use in my negotiations. But I need to take a picture of the ambiance. What did it look like? What time of day? I mean, just take 30 pictures. That's the goal. Every time you step on a property, take 30 pictures. And, I Googled it up, doing inspection, getting prepared for this podcast, and I saw someone talk about getting a soil test. Now, EPA, when you own a commercial property, some banks require you to have an EPA test. Well, just so you know, it's roughly around $500 for a soil test. And, this guy was talking about, you might find lead. It might be worth your test. I've never done a soil test. I haven't really needed one, but I wanted to throw that out there for you. Again, it's kind of pricey, but you might want to look into it. You can also get mold tests, and I think you can get lead-based paint tests at your home box store, Home Depot, or Lowe's. Anyway, hopefully you learned some nuggets. Hopefully you didn't fall off the road. And when you're writing this down, do not text while listening to this. I do appreciate all the peeps that have continued to encourage me. What I need you cats to do, okay, listen to this. I need you to send me some topics that you're hurting or struggling with. My wife and I are working on some podcasts coming up that some people say it's difficult to be married to someone that's not in the game with them, meaning like they're involved, but they're not involved, or they don't care, or they're against what you're doing. At any rate, if you want to know something or a question, you can leave a voicemail on the SavvyRadioShow.com. That's SavvyRadioShow.com. You could text me or email me. Any question would fine. You'd be surprised that one word can inspire someone else to do it. And so I was working on another podcast about, basic real estate maintenance on properties. And then when I was doing that research, writing that podcast, the word inspection popped up a lot of time. And so that's how I birthed this one today. Anyway, my name is Steve Van Kallenberg. I am the Savvy Landlord. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful booty doody day.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.